I'd like to welcome you to the Unilock Contractor Advantage Seminar. My name is Mark Bradley, owner of TBG Landscape and Landscape Management Network. Today we're going to talk about how to connect for success. We're going to talk about the sales process. We want to make sure that your customers get the perfect experience, right from the time they land on your website, through your meeting process, the way you propose your jobs, and the way that you implement your work. We want to make sure that your customers become raving fans, and every time you do a project, that leads to the referrals that you're looking for. I'd like to talk about first impressions. We all know the value of a referral lead, and they are very important, and we all build our businesses from referral leads. But the fact is, when we get a referral, the next thing that happens is that referral customer tends to go to Google to follow up and see more about your company. They Google your company and they end up on your website. Have a look at these websites. Notice the difference between the two? Which company would you hire? Ultimately, if your website is really good and they've got that referral, I believe that they'll follow up with you and only you. It's your job to lose at that point. I know myself, I was recently looking to hire a painter to do some work at my house. I asked around, a few friends made a few suggestions, and very quickly when I went to Google to search, I couldn't find one of those referrals. The other popped right up. Had a look at the website. It was very professional, easy to follow. There was a good contact feature so that I could reach out by email. I'm very busy. I don't have time to make phone calls and wait for voicemail returns. So I used the request for quote. He got back to me by email. We had a first appointment, and I made a deal with him at that meeting. When you're designing that website, it's important to spend some money on a professional web company to build a site that's optimized. That's not easy for us to do on our own. Keywords, web design, the flow of the website, all these things are very, very important, and they're all taken into consideration by a professional web builder. With good web design, I think you can really eliminate a lot of problems early on in the sales process. One recommendation I would make is actually taking projects of different budgets and different styles, putting them on your website, and including some budget ranges so that customers can begin to educate themselves with what the costs of construction would be for a project that would be shown on the website. This way, when you do get your first meeting, they're already aware of approximate costs. The more breakdown, the better. It really educates them and it makes them aware of what they're shopping for before you meet. Traditionally, contractors would spend between $300 and $1,000 a month on Yellow Page ads. It brought all the leads to many contractors for decades. This day and age, people go to Google when they're looking for products or services. It's very important that we both design our websites so that they're optimized, but also design a good pay-per-click advertising campaign to make sure that we're capturing those leads. Those leads are going to come in to your website. They're going to see your portfolio. They're going to get to better understand what project budgets are if you have budget numbers shown on your website. And they're going to have an easy to follow contact page or a request for quote. Your leads are going to come in, they're going to be pre-qualified, and when you go out to meet with your potential customers, you're going to be the expert because your website has shown them that you're the expert. It's a much different perspective to sell from. So back to first impressions. As I said, your very first impression is going to be your website. That's the way the world is these days. But what happens next is equally as important. Your customer reaches out to you through the internet. Possibly they phone, maybe they email, maybe it's a request for quote. In any case, it's time for you to get back to them. It's very important that that happens very quickly and very efficiently. People are busy. I think if they reach out by email, it's a good idea to respond by email and offer up some times to meet or ask them what time would be convenient for them to meet. Whether it's a phone call or an email, you have to be available, and you have to be available quickly. I really feel like landscape customers have a need and they want to fulfill it quickly. If you can't meet fast, chances are they're going to meet with more contractors, and you want to eliminate that from happening. Once you have an appointment with a customer, it's important to show up with professionalism. Showing up in a pickup truck or a vehicle that's nicely branded, showing up well dressed, looking the part of a true contractor, a professional that's there to win over their confidence. When you walk up to the door, it's important that when they open the door, they feel confident that the right person is standing there for the job. When I first arrive at a potential project, I start my sales process when I start to walk up the driveway. I'm immediately starting to survey the way they maintain their property, the finishes on their house, their tastes on the exterior of their home. I also look at simple things like what kind of car they drive. Not necessarily to decide how much money they have to spend, but to really assess their buying habits. Are they driving an economy car? Are they driving a good value car? Or are they driving something to impress the neighbors? It's very important that I understand the type of person that I'm going to sell to. Just last week, I walked up to a house and I noticed that they had slate roof tiles on the house. Immediately, as soon as I saw that roofing material, I thought of Richcliffe Paver. I kept that idea in the back of my head, and I brought that out a little bit later in the sales process when it made sense. When I'm at the front door, I always try to get an opportunity to meet first at the kitchen table before looking at the specific work area outside. This way, on the way from the front door to the kitchen table, I've got an opportunity to have a look at their overall tastes. I really want to understand what they like. Do they like a lot of color, really clean and modern, more traditional? By looking at things like flooring, furniture, artwork, and their kitchen, I get a lot more information to work with so that when I'm outside, I already have a sense of their design tastes. When I'm at the kitchen table, I like to use a piece of graph paper with my logo on it. I like to itemize all the things that they're saying that they'd like to include in their backyard or front yard project. I itemize those things so that when I get outside, I can make some point form notes within those major categories so that I have good notes later to refer to. It's important when you get out into the backyard that you ask the right questions and that you learn how to listen. Customers always tell you everything you need to know to make the sale. You just have to hear it. What happens in the backyard typically, once a customer starts explaining what they'd like to have, is very simple. They're telling you about a patio, or they're telling you about a pathway that's going to serve a purpose. It's up to you to ask the questions so that you can sell that patio, pathway, retaining wall, outdoor entertainment area from a different perspective. First of all, simple questions like how many people they tend to entertain, how large their family is, how they're going to use the potential space that they're talking about building. Would a barbecue be a nice feature? Would an outdoor fireplace be a nice feature? How many loungers would they like to have? All these simple questions generate a different experience for the customer. They feel like you care, and they feel like you want to know all the information that you need to know to provide the perfect backyard for them. Customers don't always know exactly what they want, so it's up to us to ask these questions to draw out enough information that we can make suggestions. Simply knowing what their taste is often isn't enough. We need to know how they live. We need to know how they want to live. We want to know what that vision is and really what they'd like to see themselves doing in this potential space. Once we know that, we've gathered the information to come back to them with a proposal that's going to stand out from the others. When discussing design ideas, make sure to incorporate all of their family needs into your design conversations. If they've told you that they have young children or perhaps in-laws that need some gentle steps, Make sure that you incorporate those ideas into your conversations when you're discussing the overall project. In addition to being the design expert, it's important that we establish ourselves as the construction experts. It's important that they know that you're thinking of things like drainage, slopes, grades, the correct number of steps, perhaps the need for a retaining wall. We want to establish very early on that we're the expert in construction so that they have the confidence to move forward with us. Some contractors have a habit of pointing out all the negatives on a project when they're selling to an owner. It's very important that you don't talk negatively about the overall project. Maybe the access isn't the greatest. You could point out that it's a challenge, but you could also mention that you've got the solution with the appropriate equipment for that bad access. Never make the project seem overwhelming to the customer. It's very important that they think that you're the expert and that you're completely confident and that you look at this as a really good potential project for your company. Sometimes customers have ideas that aren't quite complete. They're not the experts, we are. Sometimes they'll have ideas about the size of a patio or a way to build steps or a way to incorporate a few existing features into the new design. And sometimes those ideas just don't work. So we have to confidently show them our expertise and explain why. Could be something as simple as a patio size. Perhaps their furniture is maybe a little bit too big for the size of patio that they're talking about. Maybe it's something like adding some landings on a long staircase or putting a landing outside of a door before starting to go down steps. Could be something like adding a retaining wall or putting some proper drainage in. It's important that we have the confidence to describe to them why things could be better a little bit different way. They always respect you for it. When we're back at the kitchen table, that's where I start to talk about budget. I think it's very important that we talk about budget in that first meeting. If I can get them comfortable discussing a budget with me in the first meeting, I believe the sale's mine. I like to take that list that I developed, I like to itemize it, I like to add some loose budget numbers. For example, if they wanted a backyard patio, some landscape lighting, some irrigation, and maybe some planting, I'm gonna give them some budget ranges to see their comfort level or test their comfort level. So maybe the patio is $10,000. Maybe the irrigation system is $7,000. Maybe the landscape lighting package is $5,000 and the planting is $5,000. I'm gonna total that up and get a sense for their comfort level. If it's far too much, it's my chance to back off a little and come up with something that works. It's important after getting a budget from a client that you start to design appropriately. We work on so many different types of jobs, big and small. Budgets of $5,000 to $10,000 require different design effort than budgets of $30,000 or larger. If you're on a smaller project, just by using the 3D design product, we can come up with great ideas that are really functional and much better than our competitors, with very little effort and in very short time frame. Having a tool like the 3D software to present your ideas to your customers is invaluable. It really allows you to establish yourself as a professional. I recently watched a video on the Unilock Contractor website that showed me how to use the 3D design software to create a really basic design for my customers on the smaller projects. Basically, I would take a picture of the house and it would allow me to do a 3D image of the products that I'd like to show them for their property. It works amazing, very easy to use, and the customer really gets a good understanding of what I'm talking about. A contractor that I recently visited uses the 3D software to present every project. He actually has his customers come to his facility. They sit around a nice boardroom table. His wife even bakes cookies for the customers when they come in. They have a coffee or tea, and they see their project come to life in 3D right in front of their eyes. After they've made their decisions on the project design, they can even work through all the colors, samples, right there at his facility and close the deal. When it comes time to pricing a job, we want to do it with confidence. It's very important that you truly understand your costs when providing an estimate to a customer. Sometimes customers try to make deals. They try to get us to drop our price by 10 or 15%. It's important that you can explain to them what your actual costs are, just as important as it is for you to know. We can't go out and do these magnificent jobs if we're not making money doing it. By understanding your overhead, by understanding your input costs, and understanding when you're truly making profit and when you're not, you can produce a really professional estimate that allows you to sell with confidence. Your customer's going to ask tough questions, and you're going to know the answers. It's important when you return with your proposal that you have a system to close the deal. I like to return with a folder with my company logo, with my business card inside the cover, all the product literature that applies to that specific project, the proposal, a contract, and anything that applies to that specific job, so that I have all the information in that folder for the customer to make a final decision. I want my contract to be pre-printed. I want their information already filled out, but I'm going to leave the numbers blank because quite often in this meeting, things get changed up a little bit. I want all my terms and conditions to be very clear. I want a nice, clean pricing breakdown on the proposal that I could transfer over to the contract very quickly. I want to have all this information in hand so that I can really make a deal with the customer and move this project forward. Often warranty comes up when dealing with customers in the sales process. Don't avoid it and don't try to talk past it too quickly. I think it's important to address warranty head on. Make sure that they know that you're going to stand behind your warranty, and don't be afraid to give them examples of when warranty has even been used. Give them some examples of things that have gone wrong in the past. Even mention that you've learned from some of your experiences, but make sure that they're confident that you follow through when there is a problem. Also, don't be afraid to tell them about Unilock. Tell them maybe about a time when you had to tap into Unilock to help you out and warranty a product in the past. Examples of you providing a good warranty will never hurt you. I like to really work through all the issues that are going to come up in construction before we get started. It saves you a lot of money and it allows you to work efficiently, but at the same time, it's your biggest customer service tool. If you've talked about all the tough things that are going to take place, access, parking, material storage, whether or not you can play music, if there's going to be children or pets at home, where the water is, where the power is, warning neighbors about dirt and dust. All these things are very important, and the earlier you get them on the table, the happier your customer's going to be, and the more efficient your crew's going to be able to work. Something I've done for years in neighborhoods that I really want to capture and do a lot of work in is I take 2 or 3 of my really good projects and I maintain those projects for those customers for free. I actually manage the properties from front to back, deal with all of their maintenance needs, but every time I go to meet a customer in that neighborhood, I know that I can take them on tour to those 2 or 3 properties and show them my best efforts. Often my customer will come out and even greet my new customer and tell them how great the experience really was. It's a great way to have some raving fans. It costs me a little bit of money, but I know when I walk up to my projects, they're going to look like $1 million. Something that's worked well for me recently, we'll take a before, during, and after picture, often a series of during pictures of a project, and we'll post those on an online site. About a month or so after the project, we'll send our customer a follow-up email to make sure that everything's working and functioning the way we promised. By adding that link to the project, quite often we're finding our customers are then reposting that link on Facebook and other social media sites, and we're getting a lot of free advertising. Often in our businesses, it's important that we expand our network and get an opportunity to meet with more people and develop more leads organically. A lot of contractors are using Facebook to get more recognition and to get to know more potential people, other contractors are trying some other things. One idea that I really like is to hold a block party on your customer's project after the project's completed. What better way to have everybody on the street come in to your customer's property and have an opportunity to see your work? Just think of all those referrals that you're getting right there on the spot. All these customers are in your customer's backyard. It's a feel-good experience. Serve up some good food, get to know the neighbors on the street, and guaranteed you're going to get some good solid leads immediately, but long-term you're also building a reputation in the neighborhood as the go-to source for landscaping. We want to make sure that your customers get the perfect experience, right from the time they land on your website, through your meeting process, the way you propose your jobs, and the way that you implement your work. We want to make sure that your customers become raving fans, and every time you do a project, that leads to the referrals that you're looking for.